Okay, this is part 2 of lesson 5-1, adding and subtracting inequalities to solve. So previously we went over addition, using addition to solve an inequality. Now we're going to talk about subtraction. They're basically the same, right? I mean, obviously we know the difference between subtracting and adding, but the process is the same. So here's an example up top. We have 3a plus 5 is greater than 4 plus 2a, so we write that out. We want to get rid of the smallest a here, because we've got variables on both sides of our inequality symbol. So we're going to subtract 2a from both sides. So I subtracted 2a here, subtracted 2a here, and then we simplify. So 3a minus 2a is just a, and we still have this plus 5. Bring down our inequality symbol, it doesn't change. 4, and then these two cancel each other out. So we're left with a plus 5 is greater than 4, and this is where the subtraction part comes into play, right? I want a by itself, so to get rid of plus 5, I have to subtract 5, and whatever I do on the left, I got to do the same thing on the right. So these two cancel each other out, and I'm left with a. Bring down my sign, it doesn't change, and 4 minus 5 is negative 1. So my answer is a is greater than negative 1. When I write it as a solution set, I'm going to put a line here and put my variable in front. Right? Seems silly, but that's how you do it. And then you put the little squiggles. I'm terrible at drawing those on either end, right? But again, you're not going to have to do that for me. I don't require that. If you see it written that way on your EOC, that's what it means. This is the actual answer in here. Okay, and then when we graph it, since our solution's negative 1, we're going to go on our number line, find negative 1, put a circle, and there is no line under this, so we cannot shade the circle in. That is not shaded in. I don't know if you can tell that. And then we're going to use the little arrow trick. The arrow points to the right, so we're going to shade everything to the right. All numbers greater than negative 1. All right, so let's do a few together down here. If you want to pause the video and try these on your own and then hit play and watch me solve, that's fine with me. It does not leave me a lot of room here to show my work, so I'm going to use another sheet of paper. Okay, so I've got, for number 1, t plus 12 is greater than or equal to 8. T plus 12 greater than or equal to 8. Just like I would solve an equation, I got to get t by itself, so I'm going to subtract 12, and whatever I do on the left, I have to do the same on the right. These cancel, so I'm left with t. Bring down my sign, it doesn't change. 8 minus 12 is negative 4. So on my number line, I'm going to put a circle at negative 4. There is a line here, so t could be bigger than negative 4, or it could be equal to negative 4. So negative 4 is part of my solution set, so I'm going to shade that in. And then I'm going to shade in all the numbers bigger than negative 4. T is the shaded part. So I'm going to shade all this in. All these numbers could be t. Right? And if that confuses you, just use the little arrow trick. Turn that into an arrow. It shows you which direction to shade. Okay, number 2, n plus 12 is greater than negative 12. To get n by itself, we have to subtract 12, and whatever I do on the left, I have to do on the right. Goes away. N, bring down my sign. Negative 12 minus 12 is negative 24. So I go to negative 24 on my number line. There is no line here. So n can be anything bigger than negative 24, but it cannot be negative 24. So I cannot shade that in, but I can shade in all the numbers greater than negative 24. N is the shaded part. The shaded part represents all the numbers that could be n. Any number greater than negative 24. And then lastly here, not lastly, but in this row, positive 16 is less than or equal to h plus 9. To get h on its own, I have to get rid of plus 9, so I subtract. Whatever I do on the right, I have to do to the left. These go away. 16 minus 9 is 7. Bring down my sign. Bring down my h. Okay, so I'm done with the math here. However, I have to have h first. The variable always has to be on the right. So I'm going to put h over here, 7 over here. And then this is saying that h is greater than 7 or 7 is less than h, right? So I want to keep that the same. The mouth is open towards the h, so I got to keep it open towards the h. H can be greater than or equal to 7. So I go up here to 7, put a circle. It has the line under it, so I shade this in. And then I want to shade in all the numbers that are greater than 7. Turn that into an arrow, everything to the right. All right, hopefully that's looking easy to you guys. One more line here. The more examples we do, the better it is for you when you're doing your assignment. Y plus 4 is greater than -2. We have to get rid of that plus 4, so we subtract 4. Get why this is the subtraction property of inequalities, right? Because to solve an inequality, you have to subtract the same thing from both sides. Y, bring down my sign. -2 minus 4 is -6. So I put a circle on -6. There is no line here, so -6 is not part of my solution, but anything bigger than -6 is. So I'm going to shade all these numbers bigger than -6 using the arrow trick. Number 3, 3r plus 6 is greater than 4r. I've got r's, variables, on both sides of my inequality, so I want to get rid of the smallest. So minus 3r, I got to do the same thing over here. These go away. 6, bring down my sign. 4r minus 3r is just 1r. So I'm done with the math, but I want the variable on the right, so I switch them. And the mouth here is open towards the 6, so I still want it to open up towards the 6. R is less than 6. Got this guy. I do not shade it in since there's no number underneath here. And if I use my arrow trick, I'm shading in everything to the left of 6. All numbers less than 6. And as I said in the last video, please do not put your circle and your line above the number line. You need to actually write on the number line. That's what it's there for. All right, and a lovely fraction. I know how much you guys love fractions. That's sarcasm. All right, 3 over 2, q minus 5 greater than or equal to 1/2 q. All right, so I've got q's here. I have to get rid of the smallest q. What's smaller, 3/2 or 1/2, right? Obviously 1/2, so I'm going to subtract 1/2, the whole thing, subtract 1/2. We're not just trying to get rid of the variable in front of, the fraction in front of the variable. We're trying to get rid of the entire thing, right? This one over here, we want to get rid of all of it. So that's why we're subtracting and we're not multiplying by a reciprocal. You multiply by a reciprocal if you're trying to get rid of a fraction in front of a variable and leave the variable. That's not what we're doing here. All right, so 3/2 minus 1/2 gives us 2/2 q minus 5. Bring down my symbol, and then there's nothing left over here. Let's scoot this up a little bit. I'm up my table at home, and my kids have all kinds of Christmas stuff out. Oh, goodness. All right, so here I want q by itself. This is just 1q minus 5, 0. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Q, keep my sign the same. This is 5. All right, so I go to 5, put a circle. It does have a line. Oops. Yeah, it does have a line underneath. I didn't think you could see that. So I shade it in. Arrow trick, I'm shading in all the numbers bigger than 5, so everything to the right. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And then we have a few here. I'm just going to pick out a couple to solve in this little section because pretty much you guys know how to do these. Yeah, I'm writing on the other side. Here, I'll do it this way. All right, so here I have a decimal, but it doesn't matter. I'm not going to do anything with that decimal for number 7. Here, I'll cover this up. There. 4p greater than or equal to 3p plus 0.7. I want to get rid of the smallest p. So I'm left with 1p, bring down my sign, 0.7, done. Right? And you don't have to graph, so that's your answer. You're finished. P greater than or equal 0.7. Okay, number 8, we have a fraction, so I'll do that one with you guys. R plus 1/4 is greater than 3/8. I want to get rid of 1/4, but before I add or subtract, I want to change it so that it has the same denominator as this guy, right? So if I want to change this 4 to an 8, what do I need to do? I need to multiply it by 2. And to keep a fraction the same value, just make it look different, whatever I multiply the bottom by, I got to multiply the top by the same thing. So I'm going to have R plus 2 over 8 is greater than 3 over 8. And then I'm going to subtract that 2 over 8 from both sides of my inequality. So these go away, and I'm left with r. Bring down my symbol, and then 3 over 8 minus 2 over 8, since they have the same denominator, I just subtract the top. That leaves me with 1 over 8. So r is greater than 1 over 8. Don't overcomplicate. I'm going to skip number 9 because you know how to do that. Number 10 has some decimals. They're not scary, but we can do them just to ease your fear a little bit if you have any. All right, negative 1.2 greater than 2.4 plus y. I need to get rid of 2.4. So these go away. Negative 1.2 minus 2.4. If you're already down in a hole 1.2, whatever, feet, whatever, and you go down 2.4 more, you're really adding all this negativeness, right? You're going down, down, down. You just add all that up. So 1.2 plus 2.4, it gives me 3.6, and I went down that far, so it's negative 3.6. Mental math, you can use a calculator and does the same thing. And then I'm left with y here. And remember, I always want my variable first on the left. So I'm going to put y here, negative 3.6 here. And then what do I do with my symbol? Well, it's opened up to the 3.6, so I want it to stay opened up. Y is less than negative 3.6. Done. Okay, and the rest should be pretty straightforward for you guys. Let's do a little bit of this translating here at the bottom. Define a variable just means pick a letter. That's it. Write an inequality and solve each problem. All right, so the sum is plus, of a number, that's just a variable when we don't know what a number is, and 8 is less than, so this symbol, 12. You always read from left to right. So less than is the little point. Greater than would be, it's like a mouth. You guys know. In middle school, they say it's like a gator mouth, and it's opened up towards the biggest number. It's hungry. All right, so less than is when it's turned away from you. All right, so we're going to write x plus 8 is less than 12. Okay, and then I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. These go away, so I'm looking at x less than 4. My solution. Okay, number 14, the sum of two numbers is at most 6. So it can be 6, it can be equal to 6, but it cannot be anything bigger than 6. So it has to be less than or equal to. Is at most means less than or equal to. It cannot go over 6. And one of the numbers is negative 2. So the sum of two numbers, x, let's say negative 2 plus x, it's the sum of two numbers, and one of the numbers is negative 2, is at most less than or equal to 6. So this is what our inequality would look like. And then when we solve, I'm just adding 2 to both sides. So I would get x is less than or equal to 8. You do have to write this out and solve. And then number 15, the sum of a number and 6. So I'm adding a number and 6. X plus 6 is greater than or equal to. So greater than or equal to is this guy, negative 4. And then to solve that, I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides of my inequality. X is greater than or equal to negative 10. All right, if you have any questions, let me know and use the videos to help you with your assignment.